There are two types of people based on how they react to the title of this video. Exhibit A. Oh my god, yes dude, this is what I've been telling people for years now. I want to hear what this guy has to say. Or Exhibit B. What the fuck is this? This is the most retarded thing I've ever seen. I'm gonna watch the first 10 seconds and drop a dislike without hearing his arguments. Please be Exhibit A. Yup, I never really saw the reason why Five Nights at Freddy's sister location was viewed so unfavorably by a lot of people. I would spend a fair amount of time trying to figure out how and why this FNaF sister location rubbed so many people the wrong way. To be honest, I still don't really know why. I never had anything bad to say about sister location, but I've also never had a reason to praise it for the good that it's done. What I'm trying to say, this definitely isn't overrated, but it's not underrated either. It's stuck in that weird middle ground where people remember it like it didn't really do anything groundbreaking, completely ignoring the fact that it was the first game that featured movement in any major category. No, the running around in the FNAF 4 bedroom doesn't count. That was just a part of the office, don't even at me.
Coming on your ass, boy.
But it also didn't really fail at anything either. Okay, well, why am I coming out all of a sudden and saying that it's underrated if it really isn't either way? Well, let me explain to you what it offers and everything that the famous FNAF community takes for granted because of it. First and most obvious, the game does not feature the typical night system like other games. Instead of waiting for a certain time to pass while fighting various killer robots, this game makes every night its own challenge that you must complete in order to proceed. Or intentionally fail in the case of night 3, but sure, whatever. Basically, it innovated and pushed new boundaries as to what defines a Five Nights at Freddy's game. In Night 1, you simply do your standard run-of-the-mill stuff. In Night 2, you have to do something in the control panel where Funtime Freddy is because the power went out. Included may or may not be a secret circus baby dialogue. Night 3 involves you touching Freddy and intentionally dying to Foxy when you're done perverting the metallic bear. Night 4 was slightly controversial when it was initially released because for the first few weeks or so, that night was immensely difficult. Now since then, the difficulty of that night has been downgraded significantly. It's a lot more easy to tackle this night. Oh yeah, I forgot to explain what you have to do here. You've been shoved into some type of suit. I couldn't tell you what character this should be, and you have to do a combination of winding up your spring locks to prevent you from becoming Purple Guy 2.0, and wiggling because of these little fuckers that really want to kill you. Now Night 5, the last night that basically has two different ways of ending. Either you do stuff how you are told to do, and once you end up in front of this funny looking crane, you get to see the big man upstairs. And then you become Rick Astley. Alternatively, if you go a different direction in this section, you will end up in this secret room where stuff looks more like your run-of-the-mill FNAF, having to last until 6 AM against Ennard.
Great, none of us can watch TV!
But to unlock this night, you have to fulfill another criteria, which brings me to the other point of arguing why sister location is underrated. The story the game establishes. More specifically, the way it establishes it. Let's take the death minigame for example. You have to defeat this minigame, which is very deceiving, but in a good way. First you think that you have to reach the end, which turns out to be a farce. Then you think you have to achieve a perfect score by giving your cake to some kids. Pause. And then in the end you figure out that you have to painstakingly do all of that again, all while still having enough time to return back to the start and watch this girl get eaten. Another excellent way that this game drives the story forward is through hidden scenes that you have to think outside the box to achieve. For example, at one point you are given a task, if I think it was restarting the power. But if you don't go over there and instead go to where Circus Baby stage is and go under the desk, you get some new dialogue that unlocks some new stuff.
A little girl, standing by herself. I was no longer myself. My stomach opened, and there was ice cream. There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment. I still hear her sometimes. Why did that happen?
I'm not the biggest fan of the audio clips in between nights where you are basically spoon-fed lore. I want to earn my lore, goddammit. But besides the way it gives you new lore, this game also experimented with its gameplay as I've described earlier. Along with everything else I've explained, the addition of a custom night solidifies the game as the most innovative FNAF game apart from the first one, of course. The atmosphere it provides is downright terrifying at times, specifically the segments where you are forced out of the relative comfort of this dingy-ass steampunk office thing, but also when the electricity is shut down and you are left with the faintest ringing noise in your ears as all of the rustling from the vents vanishes. Basically, it is criminal how underrated the horror of this game is, not to mention how it is created with the perfect blend of dark visuals and downright terrifying audio. Bro, if the horror of Sister Location as a whole is underrated, the audio that is worked into the horror is basically non-existent in the eyes of the fans. The ambience is straight up the most chilling one out of any other FNAF game. The jump scare sound effect is actually scary with a nice blend of metallic and organic sounds in there. I mean, there isn't really anything else to praise. All of the audio is really damn good. Seriously, I don't think a more average FNAF game exists in the eyes of the famous FNAF community.